I'm joined today by Roger Murphy, the Managing Director of Zamare Minerals. Just a disclosure, I am a shareholder and all of the information here is for information purposes only and not investment advice. Now we've got that out of the way. Roger, good to see you again.
And you, Peter, as always.
I think a lot of people watching this are probably very new to the story. You're a private company. Who are you and why have you set up Zamare, and what are you looking to achieve here?
Well, I'm a geologist originally. I'm British, Welsh, grew up in Wales, worked in Africa as a geologist for about 5 years, moved back to the UK, worked as a geologist in the UK for a while, but most of my career I was in the city, working both as a stockbroker, salesman, and also as a banker, but always focused on the mining sector and on Africa. But in the last 5 years, I've been involved in running companies, and for the last 2 years, I've been managing director of Zamare. Zamare is a pure copper explorer focused entirely on Zambia. As you say, we're private, and like you, I'm a shareholder in the company as well, hopefully a bit bigger. We have 4 assets, 3 significant assets and a smaller asset, and I'd be happy to tell you a bit more about those as we go through this discussion.
Yeah. Before we go on to that, I wanted to discuss Zambia a bit more because there's been 4 really key news items that have come out over the last month or so, which I think are now shifting a lot of investors' attention to the region. Kick things off, what's been happening with First Quantum with their investment?
Well, First Quantum's been a significant miner in Zambia for a long time. They have 2 large copper mines, Kansanshi and Sentinel, produce just over 500,000 tons of copper. But last week, or might be the week before, they announced a new investment of $1.25 billion to expand one of their 2 large mines, Kansanshi. I'm not sure exactly where that will take them to, but Kansanshi produces roughly 250,000 tons, and it's going to go up from there. They also announced, which is very interesting for us, the last 100 million to put their Enterprise nickel mine into production. An Enterprise which is with Sentinel is on our doorstep at our Ntambu license. So it's a major vote of confidence in the Zambian government by spending that much money. And
then we also had Mark Bristow hint that he may be looking into the region as well.
Barrick owns the Lumwana mine, about 120, 140,000 tons a year from memory of copper. They've previously stated they're looking for more copper. And he reiterated that statement, I think, last week at the Indaba in Cape Town, that he's looking to expand his copper portfolio in Zambia and in the Congo, the DRC next door.
Again, I don't know a lot about this part, but there's been some good noises from the Zambian government as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, they've talked specifically about reducing or making themselves more attractive to international investors. They've got a strategy of going from, I think it's about like 700,000 or 800,000 tons a year of copper to 3 million tons a year, which is a huge stretch target by 2030. And they're improving fiscal terms in order to attract more international capital. And we saw a very interesting development last week. The Zambian government agreed. They've been in litigation with the Indian company Vedanta for quite some time over some assets that Vedanta owned in Zambia, and those are subject to court battles at the moment around the KCM smelter and the KCM mines. And Vedanta and the Zambian government have dropped the cases against each other, which means that they're going to start to negotiate more hopefully more pragmatically, and that's a significant development for Zambia and sends a message to international investors as well, I think.
The main thing, though, obviously, I think those 3 are all very good confidence boosts to the region. But in terms of your own licenses, obviously we saw Anglo American, now potentially your next door neighbour.
Yeah, I mean, ARC Minerals, which is quoted on AIM, announced Thursday last week that what had been rumoured around for quite a long time, that Anglo American will farm into their licenses, which are on the other side of the Kabompo Dome, which is a very prospective area. We're on one side of the Kabompo Dome, they're on the other, very similar rocks. Anglo's been there for a while, but I think what surprised investors was the scale of the investment. Anglo's announced that they will spend up to $88 million investing both directly cash into ARC's hands, but also, most importantly, into exploration on the license. They're very excited by the potential around the Kabompo Dome. And, it's another, we've now got Anglo farming into ARC on one flank of our Ntambu license, and then First Quantum, a major miner, on the other flank. So, it makes me feel very good about that license.
No, I'm not surprised. Talk to us a little bit more about that license, and let's go through the licenses that you hold at the moment. So let's talk about that one a little bit more. What's the geology of that, and what work has been done on that so far?
So Ntambu is our license on the edge of the Kabompo Dome, as I say, in between First Quantum on one side and ARC Anglo on another side. It's covered with sand, which has made it more difficult to explore. And 10 or 15 years ago, it was owned and explored by First Quantum. But when they converted exploration license into a mine license, they relinquished the license. They had to do that because they had to shrink the size of their land. But also, when you build a big mine, you need to find land which is not mineralized, because you want to build process plants, dams, mine buildings, and you don't want to put those on top of an ore body, because so you choose areas which are not. So they relinquished the block of ground. We staked it. We did a deal with, we have a technical cooperation agreement with First Quantum. They provided us all of their historical data, and we've been processing that data and doing some field exploration since. But we've got a 250,000 ton a year copper mine on our doorstep, and prospectively a nickel mine as well. And then, as I say, Anglo on the other side of the basin.
In terms of the next priority, that's obviously now, I'd imagine, one of your top priorities in terms of licensing in finding that resource. Is Dongwe next, or?
Well, I would have said yes, but we've now announced a deal with a new license. I mean, we've looked at 20 licenses over the last 2 years and said no for different reasons, mainly geological reasons, to all of them. But we jumped on this license. We call it Kalene Hills. It's in the very far northwestern corner of Zambia. It's on the Western Foreland, and that, for people who know the Copperbelt, is really important statement. Kamoa Kakula, which is the fourth largest copper deposit on the planet, owned by Ivanhoe, is on the Western Foreland, and that structure runs southwesterly through the DRC, and nearly all of that area through the DRC is staked by Ivanhoe, but then it passes into northern Zambia, and we have a license there. So I would have said Dongwe, where we have evidence of copper, and we've got some really exciting opportunities that we will be following up during this dry season. But we've been on Kalene this weekend. My geologist was there, and I'm really excited about both. Actually, I think both of them have huge opportunities.
Okay, so Kalene Hill's second in terms of priority, maybe.
Excitement, definitely in terms of excitement.
Yeah, but Dongwe is an exciting part as well, because you've got two opportunities there from memory.
That's right.
You've got the iron oxide copper gold portion, and then you've got the other portion to the.
That's right. I mean, Dongwe is actually 3 licenses we've put together. What attracted us to the license in the first place is that there's artisanal mining on the eastern side, and there's a small artisanal pit where I took a piece of rock at the face. We sent it to an independent assay lab, and it assayed at 15.8% copper with 0.5 gram gold. Not huge size, but nevertheless very attractive grade. And we've also subsequently found another pit off our license, which flooded, but we took a sample from there, and it assayed at 18 grams gold and 5% copper. So there is a big copper gold system around the area. But then on the western side of Dongwe, we did a huge soil sample program over the last 2021 dry season. And that showed 4 anomalies that we didn't know about in the western part of our Dongwe license, which coincided with some historical BHP geophysical data, which was magnetic and gravity highs. And we visited all of those, and they start to look very similar to IOCGs. And Olympic Dam, which I think is the 3rd or the 4th or 5th biggest copper deposit on the planet, is an IOCG. There is one that's going into production or is being developed in Zambia. So we think we may have a couple more, 3 or 4 more, and we will be following up on those as well. So yeah, we've got a lot of really interesting targets, and big targets too.
I think Olympic Dam's granite bedrock, isn't it? Is it similar?
With IOCGs, it's the granites and the superheated they're intruded into the crust. and it could be all sorts of different country rocks. And then it is the superheated fluids around the granites which create the mineralization.
Okay, let's talk about work program looking forward. So we'll, obviously you do have an IPO coming up fairly soon, so we will move on to that. But what's the next 12 months looking like in terms of, you've got your priorities now, you've got your new license. Where do you go next and really focus your attention?
Up until the acquisition of Killarney Hills, which is just, ongoing now, and we've paid the first part of the deal, and we will consummate that deal in the next short period. The program was, and it is still, we're shooting AMT, which is sort of a bit like seismic, but using an electrical technique at Ntambu. It will give sections through the earth, and it's very good and used extensively in Zambia and elsewhere to pick up conductors. And conductors, in other words, conductors of electricity in the subsurface. And they are often associated with mineralization. So we've got a program of about 60 kilometers of AMT lines at Ntambu, and that'll be kicking off in the next month or so and probably take 3 or 4 months. And based on that, we would then be looking to identify, drill targets. But the first thing is you don't want to spend a lot of money drilling unless you have a good. So the AMT is to direct future drilling. And then as far as Dongwe goes, we've found a significant. I should have mentioned this earlier. We found a significant structure on the eastern side, which we call Breccia Ridge Extension. We're aware of a company to our east, Moxico, a private company that has drilled, we believe, on what they call Breccia Ridge. This is an old, it's seen historic exploration as well, and we have the extension of that goes into our license, showed a very significant soil anomaly, and we will start by trenching that. Again, the advantage of trenching is that you expose bedrock and you can take assay samples, which we will do, and then based on the results of that, we'll be looking to drill there as well. Okay. So that's, as far as Killarney Hills, it's not seen very much work. And so I think the first order of the day is to do some soil geochemistry, get a Zambian contractor in who's done some very good work and cost-effective work for us before, get them in there, collect the soils, and try to understand what's going on. I mean, the discovery of Kamoa was started with a low-level but persistent copper anomaly. So we'll start by collecting that kind of data on our license.
Obviously, with all this going on in the background, though, are you happy with all the licenses you've got, or are you still going to be looking for a few more?
I think there is an opportunity in Zambia. We've talked about but significant companies are focused. Rio Tinto is exploring in Zambia, First Quantum's producing and expanding production. Anglo American is farming in. Moxico is a producer already and is looking to grow. So, and I think there is an opportunity to potentially to pick up other licenses, but I don't want us to be seen as a project developer. I think
project generator.
The problem with project generators is that, it seems to me that quite often you sell your winners, which is not a very good strategy as a fund manager. And I don't think it is either for a company. So I'd like to see us advance the projects where we feel strongly about them, but also be tough enough where we don't think we're going to make money from it, to walk away from them. And, we may be doing that as well. But there are licenses out there. I mean, we've got good relationships in Zambia, and our partners who have vended the licenses into us, African Zambians, are significant shareholders in Zamare. So I think there is an opportunity to maybe 1 or 2 other licenses, but we're not in a rush to do that. And as I said, we've said no to best part of 20 licenses in the last 2 years.
Okay, let's talk about the IPO, because that's actually coming up fairly soon now. What can you tell us in terms of how that's going to look like and when we might expect it?
We're targeting a listing in London over the next little while, next couple of months. We're shooting for this summer. We think that being public will allow us to grow the company faster, give us more access to capital, and we are fully mandated. We have our Nomad and a Nomad and broker in SP Angel. We have lawyers, accountants, and competent persons all working hard, and we're confident we'll be ready to go.
Okay, so IPO this summer. What will the share structure look like? How much do you think you'll be looking to raise?
We raised some money pre-IPO to get us this far, to fund the exploration and to fund the movement towards IPO. That gives us just over 2.05 million shares in issue. We raised money at £3 last time with a half warrant at £4. I think Kalena Hills gives us a very strong reason to be looking for a premium to that. But we will, we think that £3 for a smaller company in the UK is too high a number. So we are planning on a stock split where we're probably 50 for one. So £3 becomes 6p, and instead of 2 million shares, there would be 100 million. So, and then, the market prices these things, we would like to see, we've got a number in our mind that we would, it's not a huge premium, but we want to make people who come in money, and we want to grow this company. I think there is it's corny to say once in a lifetime, but there is a significant opportunity now in copper in Zambia, and we are well placed to capitalize on that, and I don't want to be greedy and at the get-go. I think we use the capital markets to build a good company and become one of the premier copper explorers and developers in Zambia.
Down the line, and it's obviously completely agree, and that's part of the reason why I'm involved. But down the line, I guess, are you looking for an exit like ARC with some of your projects? I guess with so many majors in this region, I don't think investors would be too upset if down the line you were to.
It'd be a nice problem to have, but the way, if you develop a project and then put a for sale sign on it, I think the market knows you're a seller and the price reflects it accordingly. We've got a good team, a very strong commercial team, and a good geological team. So I think we're in a good position to advance projects towards resource, and we'll take it as it comes. I'm aware there is interest. There is interest around in Zambia in copper projects, and we'll see how it develops.
Just to finish things off, obviously, I think, especially as you are coming to the market, I think something that people should get a better idea of is sort of your share structure in terms of how much skin do you have in the game and the rest of the management team, and what's the current shareholder portfolio looking like at the moment?
Sure. Well, we've two sort of 15-ish% shareholders, and then a management all 5-ish% each. The largest shareholder is Tunde Adebayo, who is a British Nigerian businessman, who, with a group of Africans who have vended the licenses into Zamare, own about 16% of the company. Tunde is on our board and is very committed and very influential in the way that we take the company forward. And then from capital markets, Rab Capital have been very supportive. They've got about 14 or 15% of the company. And then Julian Hammond, who is chairman and one of the founders, myself, Darius Nkozu, who is our largest Zambian shareholder and also on the board of our local subsidiary. We've all between 6 and 7% each, as has Ian Ilsley, who is our chief financial officer. So and Tom Gomerick, our chief geologist, is around a 3-4% shareholder as well. So the board and management have got a lot of skin in the game, and we've also been supported by a number of high net worths in the London market, all of which are taking the long view.
Well, Roger, thank you very much for your time.
Cheers, Peter. Really enjoyed it.